Hey, this is Emily, and welcome to another edition of Westchester Life. Do you remember your dorm room experience? You were packed into a small room with a roommate you may or may not have liked, had heat exhaustion, and probably snuck in a few things you weren't supposed to. You banged on the wall when the neighbors were blasting their music too loud, and you had the time of your life. Your dorm room, whether good or otherwise, made memories that will forever stay with you. However, for students at Westchester University, those memories might not be possible due to the current housing crisis. A crisis so large that hundreds of Westchester students are left without housing for the 2013-2014 school year. But is housing really that big of a deal? Should all of these students just stop jumping down each other's throats? To see, I asked a couple of current students what they thought about housing.
I like living on North Campus housing better because it'd be less stressful than having to live off campus on South.
If you're hanging out with people late at night, you just don't feel like driving home. And then there are a lot of times where you get home and then someone asks you to hang out and you're like, I do not feel like wasting the gas to go back to campus. So then you end up staying home instead of hanging out with someone. So it's a lot more convenient.
Personally, I like living on campus because I kind of like the freedom aspect of it. When I was at home, my parents always had that curfew, always have to be in at a certain time. You can't go out with friends because it's a school night kind of thing. And when I'm at school, I kind of have my own freedom to hang out with friends late at night or study with friends late at night. And I don't have to really feel like I have to go anywhere at a particular time other than class, But I like the whole freedom aspect.
As you can see, most students like living on campus. They are around their friends, and they can finally get a taste of freedom as they begin to live on their own. So why would Westchester flat out disregard a few hundred students for this opportunity? Rumor has it that it's the incoming freshmen. Westchester every year accepts more and more freshmen and transfer students into the university. Class sizes are getting larger and housing dwindles as the prices continue to rise. Nick Lukowski, a current music education senior at Westchester, says that Westchester isn't about academics anymore, but more about money. When I caught up with him and talked about the new East Village, he gave me his opinion.
As terrible as it might sound, I kind of feel like we come to more of not an academic school, but more for a business, an economic business where school's trying to get as much money as possible. So putting people in this situation where they're being forced into the East Village is their way of getting a lot more money. But the thing they didn't think about was no one can afford it, so who's really going to move in there? So we're more of a business versus focusing on academics and people's schooling, which is a real shame.
Big business? Isn't a school supposed to be about learning, about the academics? And if not, why do students pay all of this money to be a part of a place that's goal is just to make money? Even more shocking, Westchester University is currently named the most affordable school in Pennsylvania through the Kipler 100. For being the most affordable school, does the money being guzzled by housing taken into consideration, and who is the number one on that list? To me, it seems like being an affordable school means that you are paying a good price compared to what you get. Yet, with rising housing prices, almost everyone I've talked to recently on the campus said that housing is anything but fair. Jill Haggerty, a current sophomore English major at Westchester University, said that Westchester was just being sneaky. They tear down the cheapest housing and begin building expensive housing.
I just find it ridiculous that this college is not it's not focusing on academic as an academic institution. It's focusing on making money, and they're going to use living situation to get the most amount of money. But they are not doing a service to people who genuinely want affordable housing, or people who can't even get that affordable housing and need to drive here, and they don't have the places to park. Mm-hmm. And they're just really inconveniencing everyone's lives in order to make more money, instead of focusing on what's important by boosting academics. And not even with money-wise, just going over curriculums and making sure all the programs are top-notch. Wrong priorities, in a nutshell, Westchester University.
Jill said it right, wrong priorities. It was even interesting to read what those displaced students received. At first, the email was nice for those not receiving North Campus housing. The letter read, North Campus traditional room selection applications have been processed. We received 1,093 applications for 650 North Campus spaces. Unfortunately, based on your lottery number, you are not eligible to participate in room selection. If you are still interested in living on North Campus for the 2013-2014 year, I encourage you to apply for South Campus Apartments. More information about the South Campus application process is available at www.wcupa.edu. The deadline for South Campus applications is Thursday, March 7th, and students are encouraged to apply with a group of 4 other students. The Village Apartments and East Village Apartments, opening fall of 2013, still have good availability for returning students. Additional information is available at www.wcuhousing.com. If you have any questions, please let us know. For the most part, those who did not get South Campus housing had similar letters. However, the South Campus letters went on about those who were denied not having enough points. The funny thing is, most people who do not live on South Campus had no idea there was a point system for South Campus apartments. Rebecca Espinoza, a social work major currently in her freshman year, applied to South Campus when she found out she didn't have housing on North Campus, but said she wouldn't have applied at all for South if she knew about the point system. To help explain it, Brian Rosa, a current junior studying biology, gives us a little more insight.
Like, if you've lived on South Campus before and you're a junior, you get like 17 points or something like that. For argument's sake, let's just say 17. If you lived in traditional housing, North Campus, and you're a sophomore, you get 13 points. And then if you're going to be that's if you're going to be a sophomore. And then if you're going to be a junior, that's 14 points. If you lived off campus and you're a senior or going to be a senior or going to be a junior or something, it's like 1 or 2 points. But it's tricky because they say that if you've ever lived on South Campus, you get points for that. And then you look back at it again and you notice that it's actually what you actually were that semester prior to applying. So even though one of the people that was going to room with me has lived on South Campus 2 years before, he was just living as a commuter his senior year. He has lived on South Campus his sophomore year and his junior year. It didn't count. So it was a little tricky and like confusing, but we were just SOL.
What makes it worse for people like Brian is the fact that the university didn't exactly follow the point system this semester either.
Apartments of 5 sophomores, they're going to be sophomores, who've never lived on South Campus, got housing over me, who has been here for 3 years. Or I guess on campus 2 years, South Campus 2 years. And I know people who, fortunately enough, my parents can afford a little bit extra. We don't want to, but they can. But I know people who can't. They just can't. And it's not fair because if they live off campus, they lose their funding. They lose their financial aid. They lose everything. And it's not fair.
Then, to top it all off, those who are coming into the university don't know what's going on. Espinoza had said she didn't know about the housing problems when she was an incoming freshman, so why would the current incoming class know about Westchester's dirty laundry? And the fact is, it's true. Talking with Stacy Wisniewski, a current senior at Downingtown West High School, said that she was excited to live on campus for the next 4 years. But when I asked what exactly it was she knew about housing, she could give me very little.
I know that there's a higher housing and the lower housing, and the lower housing is where everyone shares a bathroom, and the private one is where you have your own bathroom, but you share it with a person, and they're nicer, they have carpets.
The question is not why these incoming students are clueless about housing, but how long will it take for incoming students to know about what is going on? Westchester University is making great strides. It is known to be an affordable public school with a great education system. Yet, the students currently enrolled in the university do not feel that way. They are feeling the financial burden, and the housing crisis isn't making it any better. Sure, there are some people like Jill that commute to save the costs, but what about people like Rebecca who are 3 hours away and really can't afford to live in the village or the East Village? What is going to happen to the school's population just because a few hundred students were not given housing on North Campus and in the South Campus apartments? Sure, they can apply for the village and the East Village, but what about the cost? Will these students only be burying themselves in more debt, or will these students move off campus, leaving the brand new East Village apartments left open and vacant? It's too early to tell, but this housing crisis on the campus is surely something to keep an eye on. Was Westchester's move strategic, or did they just make a big flop? Only time will tell. This is Emily Wisniewski, and I'll talk to you in our next edition of Westchester Life. Good night.